Henry, can we start with you? Congratulations on getting your bill through Parliament yesterday, which I know is no mean feat. What does it do, and why is it so important to you?
Well, thank you, Phil. Essentially, the bill would ban the importation of hunting trophies, body parts of endangered species, not just from Africa, but from other parts of the world as well, such as polar bears in North America, into Great Britain, because a clear majority of the British public, recent opinion polls between 80 and 90%, want to see such an import prohibition. So that's why I brought forward the legislation. Very pleased that it has been supported by the government, and I think will go an important way to helping preserve some of the world's most endangered species that in many cases sadly are on the brink.
Now, Henry, I understand it's popular and all the rest of it, but lots of people who are experts in the field say that it will be counterproductive. I was reading an Oxford University professor who's an expert in lion conservation who said that this bill will kill more animals than it will save. It's bitterly disappointing that MPs have succumbed to an emotive but misinformed animal rights campaign. What would you say to that Oxford University professor?
Well, first of all, whilst there might be a range of views on animal rights and animal welfare, this bill is about what we choose to import into this country or not. So its territorial extent is Great Britain. But I always think it's a fairly strange argument that to say the way to save an endangered animal is to shoot an endangered animal dead. Photo safaris are a way I think that local communities, often in some of the poorest parts of the world, can be supported. You can shoot a lion 100, 500 times with a camera. You can only shoot that lion once with a bullet. So I do think it is an advantage to conservation, and many countries around the world are looking to introduce similar legislation.
Diggory, can I bring you in here? I mean, surely you don't want the UK to be part of a trade in the body parts of endangered species, do you?
Well, if you put it as pejoratively as that, then it's very easy to disagree with. And this is part of the problem, that when people talk about the UK population generally being supportive of trophy bans, it's because the wording is put in a pejorative way that makes it sound like it's an obvious no-brainer that killing animals is mean and nasty and it would be nice to stop it. Unfortunately, Mr. Smith's bill and Mr. Smith's entire rationale is emotive. It's really self-indulgent populist virtue signalling. It has no value. You're absolutely right to bring up, I think it was Amy Dickman, Professor Amy Dickman you were quoting, who's actually based in the very conservation strategies that people need to understand. It is counterintuitive that that hunting preserves animals, but it does. All you have to do is look on the ground at what the ground is like. The hunting concessions are green and full of animals. Everything surrounding them is a dust bowl of overgrazed cattle ranching. And illegal logging. When you move those hunting concessions out, what goes away with them are the anti-poaching patrols that are paid for by the hunting concessions. Without that protection, then the locals just move in and they kill everything. They cut down the trees, they move their cattle in, and you get outside of the hunting concessions moving into what's now there. It's
Let me bring in Henry.
Scale. This is going to be an environmental catastrophe if you carry on with it, and it's based on emotion.
Dickory, let me bring in Henry.
Based on science.
Henry, if I'll ask a question here. You must have done research into this. I mean, or is it virtue signalling? What research did you do to counter-argument what Dickory is saying there?
Well, there was a wide-ranging consultation that was carried out by the Department for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, the UK department, and some 44,000 entries were received to that consultation, and about 85% of those were in favour of introducing a trophy hunting import ban. And the figures really stand for themselves. So in Botswana, where trophy hunting was banned for about a decade, wildlife populations resurged of those endangered species. Contrary to that, if you look at figures for Namibia, where there is significant trophy hunting concessions, numbers have plummeted of endangered species. So, I would argue, you can argue statistics and figures one way or the other, but I think it is quite clear from the
Henry, we're going to have to end the debate here, and with you, Diggory. I know there was an amendment laid, wasn't it, that an advisory board, an expert advisory board, would be put in place. But I want to thank you both. I know it's front page of the papers today, victory over cruel hunters, they put it. But as I said, it is a controversial new bill, because some people say it did help with conservation of animals. Thank you both very much indeed for joining us this morning.